Hello, I am Tuệ An. Welcome to Insightful Journey. Thank you for dedicating your valuable time to sit here, sharing stories about the inner self and life with me. Have you ever wondered why some wounds on the skin only take a few days to heal, but some wounds in the heart keep bleeding for decades? There are people who left your life a long time ago, yet their shadow haunts your sleep every night. You hate them. You blame them, and you think that hatred is how you punish them. But what is the reality? There is a saying, holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Today, let's delve into that antidote. It is forgiveness. Let me tell you the story of a man named Min. Min was a talented, successful architect. On the surface, Min had everything: wealth, status, and admiration. But no one knew that for the past 5 years, Min had not truly slept soundly. Min once had a childhood best friend named Hung. They grew up together, started a business together. Min trusted Hung absolutely, entrusting all the accounts and capital to Hung's management. Then one fine day, Hung vanished. Hung left with all of Min's 10 years of savings, leaving Min with a colossal debt and a reputation for fraud. Min collapsed, not just from losing money but from shattered trust. In the darkest days, Min had to sell his house, sell his car, working 18 hours a day to pay off the debt, and in every moment, the fire of hatred grew. Min often said to himself, "I will never forgive you. You have to pay. I will watch to see how you live." 5 years later, Min recovered. He was wealthier than before. But strangely, whenever anyone mentioned Hung's name, or he accidentally saw a familiar figure's back, Min's heart would clench, his breath would hasten, and anger would rush over him like a tsunami. One evening, Min stumbled upon Hung's Facebook profile. Hung was living abroad, smiling radiantly with his wife and children, looking utterly happy. In that moment, Min shattered the glass in his hand. Why? Why is the wicked person living in peace while I, the victim, am suffering like this? That night, Min was hospitalized with a mild heart condition due to extreme stress. The doctor said, "Your body is fine, but your mind contains too many toxins." You see, Min thought he was punishing Hung by withholding forgiveness. But for 5 years, Hung continued to eat well, sleep soundly, travel, and laugh. And Min? Min imprisoned himself in the past. Min drank poison every day, waiting for Hung to die. But the one who was slowly dying was Min himself. This is the truth we need to face today. Forgiveness is not an act of granting favor to the one who did wrong. Forgiveness is the gift you give yourself to continue living. We often mistakenly think forgiveness means accepting the wrong, being weak, or letting the other person win. No. As long as you haven't forgiven, you are still entangled with them. You are still allowing them to control your emotions. Forgiveness, in its essence, is cutting the chain that binds you to the person who hurt you, so you can be free. But hold on. There is something even scarier than holding a grudge that few realize. Don't leave, because what I am about to say might completely change how you view your enemy. Do you believe that sometimes the person who hurts you is also suffering immensely, but in a way you never see? And the reason you suffer is not because they are evil, but because you are stubbornly clinging to an illusion. Let's look at this issue through the lens of psychology and applied Buddhism to understand it completely. First, from a psychological standpoint. Why does our brain enjoy chewing on the pain? It's a defense mechanism. When Min remembers Hung's betrayal, his brain releases cortisol and adrenaline, stress hormones. It makes Min feel like the victim, and in the role of the victim, Min feels he is right, he is superior to the other person. The feeling of, "I am right, they are wrong," is a sweet trap of the ego. It makes us addicted to the pain. We fear that if we forgive, we will lose the identity of a wronged person, and we fear that justice will not be served. But looking a little deeper, through the lens of Buddhism, the Buddha taught about karma. Many misunderstand karma as punishment. You hurt me, you'll get hit by a car. No, karma is much more subtle. Hung betrayed Min. The cause, sown, was deceit and greed. The effect, Hung reaps, doesn't necessarily have to be losing money immediately. The effect might be underlying anxiety, having to live a lie, a mind constantly fearing exposure. Hung has already built a hell in his own mind, even if he smiles and talks on the outside. And Min? When Min holds resentment, he is sowing the seed of hatred. And what is the fruit Min reaps? 5 years of insomnia, heart problems, and harshness towards his current wife and children. Imagine holding a hot coal to throw at someone else. Whose hand gets burned first? Your hand gets burned first. Furthermore, the philosophy of impermanence teaches us that the Hung of 5 years ago and the Hung of today are not entirely the same person. And the naive Min of 5 years ago and the resilient Min of today are not the same. Why should the present ego suffer intensely for a past ego that is already gone? There is a more compassionate view, though difficult to hear. The person who hurts others is themselves deeply wounded or covered by ignorance. Only those who suffer spread suffering. Truly happy and peaceful people never harm anyone. When seeing Hung's deceit, if viewed with the eyes of wisdom, we see not hatefulness, but pitiableness. Pity because they allowed greed to lead them astray into delusion. So how can Min and you put down this hot coal? I am not telling you to run and hug your enemy and say, "I forgive you." No, that is empty. Here are 3 steps of conscious practice for forgiveness, simple but requiring daily persistence. Step 1. Name and acknowledge the pain. No denial. Don't try to be noble and say, "I'm fine." Be honest. Write it down or sit alone and say out loud, "I hurt. I feel betrayed. I hate them for taking my money and my trust." When you can name the emotion, you detach yourself from it. You are the observer of the anger, not the anger itself. Step 2. Separate the behavior from the person. This is the hardest step. Practice seeing, that deceitful action was bad. I condemn the action. But the person is a collection of mistakes, education, circumstances, and ignorance. Try asking, what drove them to become like that? Perhaps they were desperate. Perhaps their greed stemmed from poor upbringing. Perhaps they are also fearful. When you understand, love may not come immediately, but hatred will lessen. Understanding is the foundation of love. Step 3. The ritual of cutting the energy cord. Every night before going to sleep, instead of lying there thinking about them, do this exercise. Breathe deeply, exhale gently. Visualize that person standing in front of you, but at a very far distance. Say silently in your mind, "Between you and me, it is over. I settle this karmic debt here. I hold on to no more resentment. I grant you freedom, and I grant freedom to myself. May you find peace on the path you choose." Then, visualize the cord connecting the two of you being severed. Their image fades and vanishes into nothingness. You may not feel lighter the first time, but do it consistently for 21 days. Your consciousness will learn how to let go. Back to Min's story. After receiving advice from a Zen master, Min stopped seeking revenge. Min focused on living fully in the present. A year later, he heard that Hum had been arrested for involvement in another international fraud case. In that moment, Min only sighed. There was no joy, no glee, only a lightness in his heart. Min realized he had forgiven Hum long ago, so Hum's outcome no longer affected his soul. That is true freedom. Dear friend, this life is short. It is too short to dedicate your best years to nurturing an old wound. People can take your money, they can take your trust, but don't hand over your peace and your sleep to them. Forgiveness is not forgetting the past. Forgiveness is remembering it without pain. That is when the wound has become a scar, and that scar reminds you, you were once hurt, but you survived and grew stronger. If Min's story or the advice shared has touched a hidden corner within you, please leave Tuệ An a like. That is a message that you are ready for this healing journey. And please comment below one thing. I choose peace over right or wrong. Writing it down is also a way to commit to yourself. Don't forget to subscribe to Insightful Journey and hit the notification bell. We have many more stories to tell, many more pains to soothe together. If you are feeling stuck, watch the other video I left on the screen. It will help you find a way out. Remember, I am still here if you need me.